Hello there and welcome to Cansanity. Today we're going to be planting some garlic. Now it's the last week of September, September 28th, and this is the week that I usually get started with planting my garlic. Now you can plant in my area anytime between the last week of September and the middle of October. You just want to get the garlic in the ground and let it start to establish roots before the ground freezes. Now, I have actually planted my garlic some years in September, and we've ended up having an exceptionally warm fall, and my garlic has sprouted. And I remember when that has happened, I thought, oh, is that really going to work now that my garlic's sprouted in the fall? And you know, once I just took care of the plant, I watered it once a week, and then once it was close to frost, once it got cool enough that I was expecting frost, I covered it up with a lot of leaves from my yard and put it to bed for the winter, and the garlic came up just fine the following spring. So if that happens, don't worry about it. So let's get started. Okay, so I have I brought out my garlic and a couple of the bundles that I had hanging in my basement. Now, I tied them up in bundles, and this had a couple of extra bulbs that I used in my fall canning. And I saved the largest bulbs for planting for the following fall. And so I have some four beautiful bulbs right here that probably have 5 to 6 large cloves in each bulb. And so on this bundle here, you can see I have garlic that's much smaller. And so I'll just use that this fall for cooking, and I'll just use the larger bulbs. So I have these bundles hanging up on a clothesline in my basement. And now that I'm at the point in the season where I'm going to plant my fall bulbs, I'll snip them off, and I'll use the bulbs that I'm going to use for my fall canning, and then I'll store the smaller bulbs either in a cardboard box that's really shallow, or I also have some netting that I can store my bulbs in. So I'm just going to snip off the bulbs that I'm going to use, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so I just want to show you the difference between the garlic that I'm going to plant versus the garlic that I'm going to keep for use for cooking. I'll only take these really large bulbs and plant them. Now, this is just a small amount of garlic that I'm going to plant. I'm going to plant in this bed today. I'm going to do the majority of my planting in a larger box next week. Okay, so to take the bulb apart into the cloves, you want to do this just before you're going to plant your garlic. So just take a butter knife and just put it in between two cloves, and just give it a little bit of a twist, and they should come apart nice and easily. And so then you can just take them and put them in the bowl that you're going to use to save the garlic for planting. And you see how nice and large that is? Now you're going to plant the garlic so that the pointy end is up and the root end is down, like that. Okay, so now before we start to plant the garlic cloves, I just want to talk a little bit about the soil. You want to make sure that you amend your garden soil really well with some really nice composted compost, or some well-rotted manure. We put a combination of both in our beds. We take out about half of the soil that was in the bed that we used for planting, because we generally use these boxes for 2 crops of plants, and so we really want to amend it and give it some good nutrients for the garlic. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about planting garlic is, unless you change out your entire soil, all the soil in your bed, you should rotate the garlic around your garden. So I haven't planted garlic in this bed for 3 years, and so it's I've also built a new box that I'm going to plant the remaining cloves of garlic. So now when you go to plant your garlic, you want to plant it 6 to 8 inches apart. Now this is a butter knife from my kitchen and it's 8.5 inches long, and so I just use that as a guide. Now I've already made some holes here, and if I put my butter knife down, that's 8.5 inches, and you can see that my holes are about 8 inches apart and they're 6 inches in between. Now the planting depth will depend on the type of soil you have. If you have really heavy soil, then you can go down about 3 times the length of your clove. If you have loose soil, you can go down a bit further. So I generally go down about the length. I use my index finger as a guide, and I just go down that far, and that's where I'm going to put my garlic. And give it a push so that it's secure down at that point. And there's about 2.5 inches of soil then above the clove. Now you want to plant your garlic so that the tip is up and the root is down. And so let's get started. Okay, so as you can see, these cloves are nice and large. I'm going to plant them where the root end is down, that's the flatter end, and the pointy end is up. Now, the way I plant my garlic is I just stick my finger down, my index finger down, and that's the depth that I plant mine. I put a pinch of bone meal in each hole, and I've already done that. And then to plant it, I just place it down and just put it in securely, and then I'll just cover it over the soil. Now, that will have about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches of soil over top. That's how I plant my garlic. I see that some people get really good success planting their garlic shallower, but this is how I've always planted my garlic, and so I'll just continue on using this method. And so I'm going to continue to plant the rest of my garlic. Okay, so now I'll just cover up the garlic. Okay, now I'm just going to water the bed. Okay, so this bed is done. I planted 35 cloves of garlic here, and when all the leaves fall off my tree, and it's starting to happen now, I'll pile the leaves on top of this just to give a little bit more insulation, and then I like to put some chicken wire over top, just because I don't want any animals getting in there and digging up the garlic. And I'll leave that chicken wire on over the winter, and then I'll take that off in the spring. Now this is one of the beds that I planted, and I'll be planting another bed next week. I'm just finishing up the box, and I'll put 100 heads in that box. Now generally you want to get that garlic in about 3 weeks to about 30 days before you get your crops. So this is going to be ideal. I'm wearing shorts today, but it's supposed to get quite cool in the next couple days, and so I think that this timing is going to be good. So I'll plant my other box next week, and then I'll have all my garlic planted. And I plan to plant 135 cloves this year. And you know, garlic is one of those plants that it's just so rewarding to plant, because you don't have to do much to it. It grows really easily, and you know, it's a savings when you're garlic. I do a lot of canning. I use a lot of garlic, and if I was buying garlic at the market for all my canning, I'm going to be spending $1 to $2 a head. And so for me to grow $135 $135 worth of garlic or more in my garden, it's a savings. And honestly, it's just a really easy plant to grow. Now you might have noticed that I have some plastic picking up here in this bed. We decided to bring the soil level up in this bed because I do have a large tree over here and I have a lot going on around it, and so we've found that over the years this bed is getting drier and drier, and the roots of the other plants are getting into the box, and so I am going to put another layer of wood on top of this box so that next year I'll have more soil in the box. And so I just got ahead of myself and prepared the box so that I can have that extra layer. Now this box is 14 inches deep, and you want to have at least that amount of depth. Now it doesn't have a bottom, and so that's how I like to put my boxes together, is bottomless, so that there's just that good drainage in my garden boxes. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a great day.